good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are watching us from all over the world. My name is Anita Irene and this is Core Issues. Today we are going to look at some matters arising and state of the nation. But with me I have Dr. Washington Osa Osifo. Am I right?
You're right.
Okay, he is a politician. Let's welcome him to the show. Tell more about yourself.
I'm Washington Osa Osifo. Osa is a short form of Osa. From Uwenisi village in the Rode local government area of Edo State. Like you said I'm a politician, and I'm also a lawyer. I've been playing my politics around here, with my people, and I've served as commissioner for higher technical and tertiary education, and I've also served at the time as commissioner for energy and water resources. Today, 20 March 2019 to be precise, I contested for the House of Assembly to represent my constituency, Wode constituency, and I won by the grace of God and the support of the people. And that means I'm a member of Edo State House of Assembly. However, there are issues which, of course, a creation of the governor, working together with some elements of the anti-democratic elements, to keep us out of the house. Thereby occasioning a situation where we are unable to represent those who gave us mandates to represent them, which is our constituencies. And the implication is that out of 24 persons who contested and won to represent the 24 constituencies of the state, only 10 in the House, which is a gross majority, a minority. And that is an aberration and a knock on the constitutional provision, particularly Section 91, which holds that House of Assembly in Nigeria in any state shall not be more than 40 and shall not be less than 24. When the word shall is used in law, it is mandatory, it is not negotiable. So this is not a situation where you impose your individual suggestion or opinion on the ground of the land. And but as it is today, unfortunately, it would have been inconceivable that at this era in our democracy, not even the military did it happen, but we have seen it is happening. And we just hope that someday wisdom will prevail over recklessness.
You want to go for the House of Representatives. What was your business aspiring for that kind of position? Do you think your people now will still support you, knowing fully well that or what happened at the past, it was not able to support them? What do you think the people will do this time that you are aspiring for a more higher position?
Well, I think what is important, you see, there is no hard and fast rule about representation. When you are seeking for public office, the first thing you do is to convince yourself that you have all it takes to represent your people. There must be a self-critique. You must be able to analyze yourself. If you look at your character, you look at the content, you look at the form, and you look at your understanding of the environment. You look at the understanding of your people and their needs, and you compare with others, not just local. You also compare beyond local to international, and ask yourself, do they deserve to live better? If it is in the affirmative, it's not by you. Then, and if we run a democracy that suggests representation, as the only means of showing up, then you make yourself available. Now, if you have been lucky to have occupied the public office, like I have done, you ask yourself, what is your standing with your people? What is your service like? Did they cry when you were there? Or did they rejoice? If they cried and placed curses on you because you made them to suffer, you will not have any reason, if you are rational, to start asking them to support you, because whatever is done in office, it goes ahead of you. It crystallizes into some very complex situation, which I call Judgment Day. And people will ask, they want to know. So, but if something tells you that you did well,
Yes.
you had very good relationship, robust relationship, and when you served, you used your office to bless your people,
Yes.
and made manifest development in your area. You touched, the lives of people in ways that they can always reckon with you. And for everything you did at that time, they say thank you, and even up to today, they still say thank you. Well, to the glory of God. That alone is enough to offer yourself and say. And again, if I were not in the House of Assembly, and I didn't demonstrate character, competence, and loyalty to my party and to my people, it would have been easy, like very many persons would do, and some indeed did, in this case, members of the House of Assembly that are there today, to sell your party for a pittance, for porridge. And when you do that, you have sold your people to buy your future. It was my slogan in 2018 when I contested. My first intent to run press release that I made. I had a world press conference. The first thing I said that I will never sell anybody to buy my future. It can be very, the temptation can be very high to resist pecuniary inducements. But once you are able to resist that, because most people think that the reason why people are in politics is to make money. No, there are a few good men. I have not said I'm one of them. It is left for you to judge. I can't judge myself. But I know I have character. I know I've lived by my promise to my people that I will not sell them to buy my future. And I know if given any opportunity, as I rejected money and insisted that the good thing must be done. And for that sake today, I've been kept out from the house. What they say, the kind of courage you wield, we don't know. You have courage to speak truth to power. If you don't have people like that in a society, that society will leave nothing good for the generation after them, and even after them, to learn from.
Okay, thank you so much for all this enlightenment on what some persons do not actually understand. My next question is, by the grace of God, you are there tomorrow. Tell us one or two areas you will mostly major on when you're in House of Prayer. Okay,
first, I like that, by the grace of God, because nothing happens without the grace of God. I'm very confident that the grace of God will prevail in this case, and I will be there. And I can tell you, I will be there. I believe.
Amen.
If workman deserves his wages and God does not abandon the project, God will know in my heart that I contested because I wanted to represent my people.
Yes.
But how was I supposed to know that while I was doing that, somebody who posed as Prince of Persia will also be somewhere? But at the end of the day, even in the Bible, we know how the Prince of Persia ended. So if the word of God is true, it will also be made manifest even in our time. So Washington will be in Abuja, by next year. I'm very confident about that. You see, you may be looking at me, my outer skin, but God searches the intent of every man.
Yes.
And it is God I'm talking to, not even you. Now, for me, I have seen that the most backward local government in Edo State as it is today, when we're talking about backward, in terms of lack of infrastructure, development in capital and human, Umude and Orion ranks tall. And what is the easiest thing you can see? Maybe you have not heard this. A lot of persons don't really give attention to it. They are the only two local governments in Edo State that do not have any banking facility. It will interest you to know that Orion and Umude, we don't have a bank. No financial institution near it. No banking facilities, nothing whatsoever. Now, you also will agree with me. Even in our elementary science, way back in life, particularly agriculture, when you are setting up a business, the first thing they will tell you when you are citing an industry is the nearness to source of raw material. If that is correct, and I believe is correct, then one thing to tell you is that if the banks are not there, their first responsibility is to pursue the cash. Wherever you see the bank, you know that there's cash flow, because that's what they survive with. Now, cash to them is like what water means to fish. So if you don't see them in your environment, it means that there's no cash. And if there's no cash, it represents that there's huge poverty. So they don't cope with poverty. So it underscores the kind of life our people are living. Now, when you also ask the question, should it really be like that? When the 13% derivation fund, for the Niger Delta, you will agree with me that was how NDDC started. Yes. Later, it metamorphosed from 13% derivation to UNPADEC, oil mineral producing development commission, and today it is called NDDC. Now, Edo is part of it, not just because we are in the Niger Delta. We are part of that because we have huge reserve of oil and gas. Now, my federal constituency, there are 3 local governments that qualifies Edo to be there as it is today. Via Northeast, Ibobaha, and Oriono. Of the 3, the highest reserve of oil and gas is in Oriono, which is part of my federal constituency. Now, you should ask yourself, with this, you laying the eggs that feed the nation, should it really be that Oredo and its environs, Ibobaha and its environs, Via Northeast, Southwest, and their environs, even up to central and the north part of this town, of this state, they do have the presence of banking. How come? With the surplus of this world, oil companies, several of them in that location, how come? What it means is that somebody goes there, take it out, exactly. Develop neighboring areas, comfortable for them to stay there. Who will speak for us if we don't speak for ourselves? And when I look at it, I'm saying enough is enough. We have to come into the ring. We have to change the narratives. And I want to tell you one of the reasons why I contested to come to the House of Assembly. I'll tell you, in the 6th Assembly of Edo State, that is the penultimate assembly before this, those who occupied positions then did one thing that still beats my imagination. Although some of them are my colleagues now, not even sworn in. And some of them are there now who were sworn in. But I know I had, huge battle with them, my friends. I said, look, why would you do this? An opportunity came for you to vote for yourself, your freedom. When you're talking about autonomy of the local government, which has started again now, autonomy of the local government, autonomy of the judiciary, autonomy of even the state legislature. They voted, that 6th assembly voted against itself, that they don't want freedom. It's like you are married, and they say go. You say you don't want freedom because the governor said so. Now, a man that denies himself of his own freedom, how much of freedom can he give to you? So, if you know, that largely accounted for the reason why the local government autonomy failed. Because some states, including Edo, voted against it. The House of Assembly autonomy, legislative autonomy, failed because the House also voted against it. The judiciary failed because Edo voted against it. That was a national shame. And I asked my friends, how could you have done this? Voted against yourself? Can that be done? No wonder. We have not seen much of good laws for good governance. If the Constitution says the House of Assembly and National Assembly shall make laws for the good governance, then men of good conscience, when I say men, I'm being generic, I'm not just saying men, men and women, I'm being generic. Then it means that people of good conscience, let me put it that way, must occupy reasonable public position, because you can't give what you don't have. Today, very many of you are celebrating another round of amendments, constitutional amendment. It is not Uhuru. The National Assembly has seen the need to amend it, yes, in so many areas, including these 3 areas of the legislative, judiciary, and local government autonomy, is back. Because it failed them, because states killed it by responding to the views and aspirations of their governors. And Edo was not excluded. Now, we are back to the same scenario again. Is it going to fail? Or is it going to pass? The people want the freedom. for these three,
yes,
if there must be a proper democratic norms and values where institutions are stronger than individuals. But the governors are fighting it. And those that they are supposed to, tell the governor, don't do this, you don't have to do this, it won't work. I came into the ring to correct some of those things, to give courage to correct it. When they told me it was the governor who said this was what the governor wanted, I said, what? This was what the governor wanted. Before you were born, the contest for the freedom of the judiciary, for the legislative arm, for the local government, which is the closest tier of government to the people, have been calling for freedom. You had your time, you had your opportunity, God gave it to you. You squandered it in the name of the governor said. In any climb, when you say governor say in quote, you cannot move forward. Because an individual is selfish, an institution is stronger. So they failed us. I came into the ring. The governor knew right from day one, when I was campaigning, that I will not be part of a system that will, irrespective of my political affiliation with anybody, I cannot sacrifice my future, the pains of my people, on the altar of being the governor's friend. The governor can only be my friend if he behaves well. I can only be your friend if you behave well. If you are an enemy of my people by reason of your policies, you cannot be my friend. Because I have told people, and I still maintain that position, that days will be closing tight. You'll be stone cold, and you will say goodbye, whether you like it or not. So that is like a shadow. It's like a skin. Maybe the second invisible skin that we carry. You can't see it. The fact that you can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there. If you doubt me that death is not real, chronicle your family. If you still have your parents, what about their parents? If they have their parents, what about their parents' parents?
Yeah.
So when people look at it, you think that this is not real. It's real.
It's real.
What you will remember for when you are gone, whether out of office or long gone outside this world, is what you did or failed to do. I want to be remembered. Remembered for the good things I did to move my nation and society forward. So this case, there's an opportunity has come again for us to re-examine our consciences, and wherever we did wrong, this is the time to right it. The constitutional amendment, the National Assembly, as ever, they have pushed for it again, and another opportunity has come for them to rewrite their name. So when I came, I engaged my friends. I said, look, I'm in the ring now. I've contested and I've won. You people must not do this governor say again. You have to do people say, not governor say. And the governor saw me as this one that is coming, because when I was commissioner for education, he was a special advisor on economic matter.
Yes.
So we were together in the state ESCO. He was a visitor in ESCO. I was a substantive member of ESCO. So at the end of the day, he saw what Washington could do when it comes to talking to the governor, then Comrade Adams Ali Oshomole, and holding my own, which was the Minister of Education. I said, look, this is a responsibility given to me. You must allow me to operate within the boundaries of my ministry. And I will advise government, because I'm the eye, the ears, the functional part of that government, and that's why I'm a member of ESCO. It is my duty to hold and do what will move the state forward. And if you still remember, if you cannot remember Gogo, because Gogo will always have it, I was a mobile commissioner. I was a field commissioner. I was not a seat-type commissioner. When I saw schools that were not good for the government, I will bring it to the attention of the government. You have to fix it. And if I saw the private schools that could not pass were so bad and could not pass for even a pen for pigs, I'll bring it down. I was working on Sundays and bringing down schools.
Yes,
and closing even the ones that belong to government.
Yes.
And when you see anybody, whether government or private, that is not doing well, you must have the courage to use the same stick to discipline people. We had the courage to do that. And when I came into energy and water resources, we did the same thing.
Yes,
we identified, water corporations that were not good. And we closed them down because they were causing huge health challenges to our people.
Yes.
So for me, when I come in, I bring in passion. I bring in the fear of God. I bring in grace. I bring in knowledge. I bring in the ability to that we tell in the future where you met it and where it is now. I always leave a mark when I'm leaving the office, and a very good mark at that.
Very well. Thank you very much for that, sir. So I would like you to comment on this electoral bill.
Yes, it's a document that has been evolving. There is no system that is error-free. The reason why Section 9 of the Constitution is there provides a window for amendment and subsequent amendments. Because God forbid that one person should know it all. So, and that is what they have done.
Okay.
I am 100% in support of what was done to the amendment of the electoral bill that is now an act having been signed into law, by the president.
Yes.
So I commend the president and I commend the National Assembly, and I want to see more of their proactiveness, in terms of revolutionizing the law. Because where there are no good laws, there cannot be good governance.
Exactly. So lastly, sir, what's your advice to INEC and the electorate?
Yeah, for the INEC, they must really, in line with their name, I want to commend them first before advising them. That I've watched their elections, and they've been courageous enough to call a spade a spade. It doesn't really matter who wins. We all throw ourselves into the ring. I don't want anybody to rig for me. Let the best win. If we start a situation where the best win, it will dovetail into one thing, that accountability to the people. But if you think that you can always buy the people, it doesn't really matter, then money becomes a factor. And stealing, corruption will continue. Because when you're in office, all you'll be thinking of, because you can buy the people, is not to give them service-driven derivables. Rather, you'll be looking for what you can get, how you can amass wealth, so that in 4 years, which is a periodic election, you bring part of the money to buy their conscience so that they can allow you to continue. And for INEC cannot do much about that. But the so much they can do is to really, in line with their name, be truly independent and let the votes from the people really reflect which is the will of the people. And when you come to the people must jettison, pecuniary value, the love for pecuniary value, and stick to analyzing character content of those that are seeking their votes from them. If you vote the right person into authority of state, your generation after you will be the one to benefit from it. 3,000 naira or 5,000 naira, which they use to buy votes, cannot go beyond that day. You can't pay your school fees for your children. You can't sew their uniforms. You can't guarantee their safety in terms of going to school and coming back. We're talking about security.
Yes.
It is in a good representative with good conscience and good content that security will be guaranteed. Economic revolution will be guaranteed. Agricultural freedom will be guaranteed. Small, medium, and large-scale business will be guaranteed. Employment will be guaranteed. When all these are guaranteed, life expectancy ratio will go up. Yes. And when life expectancy ratio goes up, then the immunity that drops in the circle of poverty will go down. And there will be less pressure on public facilities, particularly the health sector. When there's less pressure on health sector like the medical facilities, then it will amount to savings on part of the government. And when there's savings on the part of the government, it will channel into another structure of the system that will create more jobs and more jobs and more jobs.
Very well.
And that is it.
What do you have to say about this power rotation? Because a lot of persons are complaining that power rotation does not actually give us somebody that is competent. If it is zoned to the Eastern Central or Edo South, probably this person that the masses or the people see that, is competent, might be from the Edo South, while the power is zoned to Edo Central. But what do you have to say? Because a lot of persons are actually complaining about it.
Well, it is a fragile situation that must be clinically and critically deployed when you are talking about issues like this. One must not be emotional about it. We are not living together by accident, although some people say the amalgamation of Nigeria was by accident. I do not believe it's an accident. Now, we have been together. We must continue to fashion ways and means of staying together. We must throw up what unites us rather than what divides us. Now, the ethnic sentiments and the geographical sentiments, I don't belong to that. I just believe that in every part of the world, there are good men, again, generic, good people. Now, there is no time that a particular set of the society, whether of the north, in terms of Nigeria, or the west, east, or south, are banded by they never do well, or the other part are critical mass of persons who can turn, they are magicians who can turn things around. I don't believe that. There are good men everywhere, as much as there are bad men everywhere. Now, where there are judicious allocation of power in terms of going by the details of the Federal Character Act, then it will suggest that at all times, power should be rotated such that it does not become dominant by reason of population of one area over and above the other, because politics and population work together. Politics is a game of number. Democracy is a game of number. If you continue, for instance, to pin it down to a particular sector, of the society and allow them to continue to produce because of their population, power will never rotate to the other side. The good brains and the good hands in those areas would have perpetually been rendered, rendered useless, and they cannot afford to go to their graves untapped. So you find good men everywhere. So for me, when it is time, it is good to rotate it from south to central, from central to north, and back and forth. The semblance of that and the fact that that is what we have all agreed will continue to be something that binds us, a symbol of unity within and amongst all of us. If it is your turn, we will help you. Knowing that one day it will also be our turn, it will help us. So a little to this side and a little to this side, that's what makes the world a better place.
Okay. Lastly, your message to the people of Rwanda and the Oriomo local government.
Well, I thank the Rwanda people for reposing huge confidence in me, voted me to represent them. It is in quest to make my promise to them, solid, that I stood by what I stood by, which is character, content, reliability, dependability. And I thank them for still appreciating it today, that I did the right thing. And for Oriomo, I'm seeking to represent them, as a federal constituency, which is Oriomo Model Federal Constituency. Now, I will give to them what true representation is all about. My character content is already known. I thank them too, because when I won the election, very many of them there congratulated me, and they were very happy because they knew something was coming. Something new was coming into the House of Assembly, and it was going to be a firebrand. We still have that firebrand, and I've been around. Although I didn't go, this governor didn't allow me to go to the House, but I like the support. The constituencies, the federal constituencies, maybe for Oriomo and Rwanda, the support they have given to me, the moral support, the commendation, they urge me on. And I want them, I'm leveling on that, leveraging on that urging. And the trust they further put on me to say that I'm grateful to them. It's one dream they will never regret. It's an action they will never regret. I'm on a journey. And I believe by the grace of God, we'll get there together. And when I'm living there 4 years, or thereafter, if subject to their renewal, if they intend to renew the mandate, whichever, however. But I can tell you, I will not go there in 4 years and you will not see a manifest shift from what it is now to what should be. God is my strength, and I thank the people very well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. My people, you've heard it all from Dr. Washington Osa Osifo. He has told you, voting me for the second time, or voting me into the House of Representatives to represent you, it's a journey that you will not regret. The program again is called Issues. Join me same time tomorrow for another exciting edition. My name again is Anita Ire. Thank you very much.